So I did not do another presentation about pasta. I figured we were all kind of done with that. So I did my presentation. I just made another course, kind of like we've been doing. I made it in Storyline 360, and I did it over. It's one of the math programs that we use at our school. It's called Dreambox, and I wanted to be able to have something that you could send out to people that help you understand some of the more useful reports that they have in the program, because they have a bunch, but really only three are really handy. So I kind of wanted to be able to send this out to people so that they could just walk through it on their own and see what they look like and kind of how you would use them to then influence kind of your math lessons. So going through, let's hit our next button. So learning objectives, we're learning the different reports and how to analyze them as well. So I started off here, and I just kind of took a screenshot from the Dreambox website of the different reports that we would look at, and I made them each a clickable link to kind of send you to its own section. So we'll start with this one, I guess. So I really wanted to focus on the kind of interactivity portion of this. So I tried to give something on every slide for someone to do. So this one, it's hover over different areas to learn more about each item as needed. And I wanted to always include that kind of differentiation where some people are pretty tech savvy and they don't need to hover over every single thing. So I just kind of, whatever section you're not sure, okay, what is this? You can go and hover over it and it'll tell you a little bit about it. So just hover over here, for example. So a green check here means that they're logging in and using the program. And then I did that for kind of each of the different columns. And then as well as these buttons higher up at the top. And then we would click through and we would talk about what we can use with the data. So again, just a little minor interactivity thing, but just keeps you kind of engaged in the activity. And then I also wanted to include some weaknesses of the data because the reports are all really good, but they don't have everything, unfortunately. So this one, it has a few weaknesses. And then when we hit next, we should go back to our course guide, and then we can look at the next two, sorry. So I'll look at this one, the standards one, because that one's kind of connected to this one. So this one was another big, you get this big set of data, and I kind of wanted to run it the same way over the areas you're not sure about. Like, oh, what do these blue boxes do? These squares allow you to assign skills to your students. And then it just, if you kind of hover down here, it gives you a breakdown. Okay, this is what's happening down here at the bottom. Each row is a student and kind of what they've been working on throughout the year. And green would be things that they finished, and then the half circles are things that they're working on but not quite finished. And then, of course, the blank ones, which there are too many, are the ones that haven't started. So that's cool. And same thing here, just kind of keeping it simple. Click and review. And then onto the last one. Same thing, more things. This one I had to break up into two sections because the report is really big. So I broke it into kind of the top half of the ways you can kind of change your view. And then the second bit is the actual what the report looks like. So this one is our growth report. This is where we spent a lot of time for our district. They really focus on growth for students. So I probably spent a little bit more time here because this one is a little bit more important. But same thing, we were hovering and then like, oh, what is far below? Okay, these red ones are going to be far below. And then I kind of talked a little bit about the different shading of red because you can see that the one in the middle there is like kind of more of a pink. That's less bad. I guess it's better than those slower numbers. Then this one I wanted to give just a little bit more guidance on, okay, you've got this data. What do you do with this data? So I kind of snipped some example students. So this student is a student that has a low initial standing, so that's this 2.5 number. and then a low growth, and that's this 0.6 number. So they are started low and ended low. I talked a little bit about, okay, they're going to need some heavy interventions, and then they're going to need a lot of help essentially. This example student, they started really high. They started at 5.1, and they ended at a 6.9. So lots of growth. This kid probably doesn't need my help that much. Maybe check in on them every now and then, but they'll be all right. Now this student also started high, so you can see they also have that 5.1 starting number. But their growth was much lower. So they're struggling in some kind of way with the program. They need some help, but like less than our first example student there. And so now that we've gone through all three reports, when I hit the next button, it would take me to the quiz. I just did like a little 5-question quiz. I don't want to run through it now just because it's going to take a while. But it was just a pretty simple quiz of did a couple multiple choice and then some hotspot questions just to kind of vary it up and make sure that as we're reading and going through the program, you kind of can check that you actually fully understood that. Yeah, that is my presentation. I'll go ahead and stop sharing my screen, and I'm ready for your feedback.
I like this because I'm not familiar with Dreambox. Dreambox, yeah. So I've never heard of it. So I felt like I was learning about the program. I was learning how to read the data. Like if I ever went into it, I was like, okay, now I know what the blue boxes mean. So I feel like overall, if you were to send this to someone and they're struggling to understand the platform, but at least are familiar with it somewhat, this would really help them kind of like add on the little extra bit of some knowledge in the platform. I actually like your use of Storyline 360. I think that it makes sense to sort of have this information presented like in a sort of slides format.
Yeah. Am I still sharing my screen? I do not see a button to stop sharing.
No, you're not sharing anymore.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, you're not sharing anymore.
I
But
was like,
yeah,
I don't see it.
no, you're good.
All right, cool.
But I think overall, using Storyline 360 was good because I like that you have the interactivity, click to reveal, I like being able to hover over. I think that it's like clean interactivity where it's not like jarring. There's not things like popping out at you. It's just like, revealing within the field. So I really like that. I think it's clean and simple.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I really enjoyed it too. I've personally never used Dreambox, but I can see how this would be useful within, those teachers and individuals you're collaborating with within your school and your school district. So I felt like that was great. I, like Taylor said, love the hovering because you don't have to click on everything. There is a lot of information there, but you can kind of work
Mhm.
through side to side, top to bottom, however you decide to go through. Or if there's just kind of one area you need to focus on, if you're not sure about, you can kind of go to that area, single that out. I will say what really caught my eye was when you would go back to sort of the modules page,
Mhm.
um, and the boxes glowed blue once you were done with it. I really like that as a visual person because sometimes I'm going through the training and I'm like, okay, well, I already went to this one. I've already done this one. I've already done this one. It was a nice visual to keep you sort of on track with what you're doing. So I really that was just something that might seem small to someone else, but I really enjoyed it.
No,
And
I'm glad you like that. I put thought into that, and I was like, all right, I want to be able to keep track of ones you've gone to, but without having to do like, hooray, you did this one. I wanted it to be kind of subtle, but still noticeable. So yeah, thank you.
yeah, no, we saw that. We appreciated that because I liked it better than the big old, like, big green check mark or when
Yeah.
it blacks out. It was nice to have something different, little glow. And so that was really great. I also liked your sort of analyzing of the data. It's like, okay, here's the students' data, the three individual like kind of situations. And so
Mhm.
what does this mean? What do they need from me? What do they need from the instructor? So I feel like overall you did a great job. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you both. I'll stop the recording.